So today we'll be discussing how to implement AJAX in registration. This is the registration that we have already done. This is a registration form. We are taking some input and we want to uh, insert data with the help of register. So for that, we'll be passing the data from this form into the backend program that is registered. So how we'll be passing the form data to the register, how it will be getting inserted, how the value will be displayed, everything we'll discuss with the help of AJAX. So for that, first of all, what we're doing, we are creating a form, registration form. This the code for the registration form, and this is the PHP values. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll cut here. So now if we run this program, this is a register form.php. So let us see how this is working. Register form.php. So you can see this is the same form since we have not changed anything in the front end. So this is the front end form. And what we have to do here, we have removed the PHP part that was implementing the insert part. So here I'll have to create one JavaScript function. Okay, so I'll use JavaScript and I'll create a function register. And in this register function, I have to access these values, that is the name, the email, and the password, and we have to pass it to the backend. So when we want to access any tag element, any HTML element, we can access it with the help of ID. So I'll use the same value for ID. ID is equals to ID is equals to password. Now, first of all, our target is that as soon as this button is clicked, this button, this is the register now button is clicked, we have to call the function. So on submit, we'll call the function register. This is the function that we have created in the JavaScript. So this is the register function that we have created in the JavaScript. You can see this is the register function. And since this is case sensitive, so I'll use the same case register value here. And now, first of all, we have to create three variables where you name, then we have the email, and we have keyword. So you name, email, comma, keyword. And we can get uname is equals to document dot get element by ID. What is the ID? It is uname, and we have to get the value. So we'll get this value. We'll use the same concept here. Email is equals to email. We have password equals to now, just to check whether the values are coming here or not, we can use an alert to see whether these values are coming here or not. So we have given an alert. Now I'll refresh it. Suppose this is Ravi, this is Ravi at gmail.com, and this is password. When I click, I can see Ravi at gmail.com, and password is going there. That means we can we have passed the value from the HTML form to this JavaScript. And now we'll use another function. This function will be used to call the backend is PHP, or we can use the code here itself. Either way we can do. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to see the function which we can use. So we'll use the same that we have written in the last class. This is the code that we use. Okay. And this is the function. So I'll copy this same function just to save time. I'll come to our registration form, and here I'll paste the code. Okay. So this we have already received. I'll comment this later on. First of all, what we are doing, we are creating the object of XML HTTP request. If everything is fine, it will go here. And here we'll write we'll call a PHP. So I'll create a registered user.php. And now we have to pass these values, uname, email, and password there. So I'll use uname. Then I have to pass another value. So to pass another value, you use ampersand, and the second value is email. So I'll use plus email. Then the third value is keyword is equals to email is equals to email, and keyword is equals to plus keyword. So what will happen? I'll explain it once again. As soon as this form is submitted, this function is called. This function will accept the values, these three values from the form, and then it will call a PHP file and pass these three values, uname, email, and we have keyword. These values will be passed on to the register user.php. So now what we have to do, we have to create a file register user.php. So I'll quickly create the file register user.php. And in this file, what we have to do, we have to accept, I'll copy this code in the register user.php. And we have to get all those values. So what are the values? First value is uname. So I'll get that in uname. And then we have two more values. So I'll get, there are, after uname, we have email. So I'll accept email, and then we have keyword. So I'll accept keyword here. Once these values are received here, what we have to do, we have to insert. So we'll use the insert code here. Instead of delete, we'll have the insert code, and then we'll give the message record inserted successfully. Here, registration successful message will be given. Okay, so now we have to add the insert. So for insert, we can take the help of register. Here we have already used the insert. So I'll use the same code that was there in registration. So I'll come to this register user, and in the register user, I'll use this. We have name, email, password, name, email, password, status, and date. These are the informations that are required. You can check in the database. Name, email, password, status, date. We can also add user type, and ID will be automatically inserted. So we'll insert user type also. So I'll come to the code, name, email, password, date, and then I'll also add user type. And by default, user type will be guest because admin is created with a different process. So insert with login. These are the values. First value is name. Second is email, then password. So I have the name of the variable as uname, then email, then we have keyword for password, then we have the status. Status is by default supposed to be pending. Then we have now, and then we have user type is by default guest. So this is the value that will be inserted. So to insert a record here, there are three values that the user is supplying from the form: name, email, and password. The status is by default pending. The admin will change the status later on. The type will be the user type will be by default guest, and date is the current date. So that will be done, and then record will be inserted, and this message registration successful will be sent. This is the backend. And from here, it will again come to the registration form. So I'll come to the registration form, and we'll get that message here, registration successful. So now what we have to do, we can alert registration successful. We can also give this message on the form. So if we want to represent this on the form here, we can have one more div. ID of this statement be search response, and whatever response is coming, we can display it there. So instead of alert, this is the response that is coming. So we'll use document dot get element by ID. This is the value that comes. So what I have to do here, Q element get ID. Inside the div, we have to pass this value, and the ID of the div is user response. So whatever response is coming, it will be printed in that div. And since you can see here, there's the submit button. So we know that if there is the user is not submitted properly, then we have to return true. Otherwise, we have to return false. So instead of having this submit button, better option will be input type. We can take a normal button. In case of normal button, name is submit, will not use in the form. Instead, what we have to do now, use a normal button. So I'll use on click question, and we'll call the register function. Let us see what is the name of the function. This is register in a small case. So I'll use a register. So now what is happening? We can see that we have a form. You can see we have a form. This form has these elements: username, email, and password. As soon as the user will click the button, it will call the submit function, register function. In the register function, we are taking out the values from the form using document.getElementID. Then we are calling register user or PHP. You name this, and then whatever response is coming from there, we'll try to print it here in this text box. Now let us run this and see if it is executing the way we want. So I'll first of all refresh. Let's enter code and let's enter some password. This was the alert, and the registration successful is coming here, if you can see at the bottom. And if we can check in the database to confirm, we can see that this record has been inserted, and these are the default values. The status is pending, it is today's date, and the user type is by default guest. Also, what changes we should make in this, as you can see, the registration successful message is being displayed here. It can come within the div so that it will look more beautiful. So first of all, let us bring that this div can come inside the card. So this is the place where we want to print the user response. Now let me use the submit once again. This is the value, that is the alert, and you can see registration successful is coming here. The another important thing is that these informations that are there in the form, this should be removed. Otherwise, what will happen if the user clicks again, then the same record will be inserted again. Let us check in the database. If you can check in the database, see these two values have come here again. So if the user submits the value which is already there, then it should say that this record already exists. That means if the email and the password and the name is already there, then we should not insert it again. For that, we'll have to add some more code in the backend. So the front end is okay. What we have to do, we have to come to the backend. So in the backend, we have register user.php here. So before inserting, see here we are directly inserting. So what is happening? As soon as the button is clicked, it will insert again. So if the record already exists, we shall say that this record already exists. So for that, we'll have to use the first select command to check whether these values are available there or not. If the values are available, we should give the message that this user is already existing. You cannot use the same value. So for that, you can see what is the select command that we usually use. There is a select command. I'll copy and I'll paste it in the register user here. Now, this part is to check the select asterisk from login where name is equals to dollar name, and then we have email equals to dollar select asterisk from login where name is this, that is existing name, and email is this. And if we can fetch one record like that, then what we have to do is the else part. In the else part, we have to insert this code. And here we have to give the message for something like this. So now what we have done, after taking the values from the form, we are first checking whether such record with the username and password is already there in the database or not. If the record is already there in the database, then we'll say record already exists. Otherwise, we'll say registration is successful. So I'll come here in the registration form. Let us refreshed. Okay. Now suppose we are entering this. I'll register. So okay, there is some error. Register user line number 13. Let's quickly correct the error at line number 13. Semicolon. So I'll come back here. Now registration is successful. Suppose I enter it again. What will happen? See, record already exists. Try again with new values. This is what we have done. Suppose I enter row. Record already exists. So this is what we can do. And we can add a lot of more functionality. Suppose we want that if the user enters this rohan@gmail.com and we want to check whether this exists or not, or we want that this is automatically checked whether this exists or not. So that also we can do with the help of AJAX. Now, in this, what we want, suppose I am using a registration and I enter rohan@gmail.com. And the system should check whether this rohan@gmail.com is already existing. Then it should give a message that this is not available and it should not register. So what we have to do, we have to add some more functionality here. So I'll add one more function so that we can check whether this email, which is already there, should not be used again. So let us come to the form, and in the form, this register form, in this form, when the user is entering the email here, we'll call on change. So this is a function on change. So is an event. We'll call check email function. So when the user is typing the email ID, it will check whether this email exists or not. And if this email is found, it will say that this email is already existing. So for that, what we have to do now, we have to create this function. So I'll come to the JavaScript. I'll create this function. I'll create this function and I want this email to be checked. So I'll copy this email here. And then we'll just now comment this. I'll use this code again. Okay. So as soon as the user is typing the value, it will go to the check user.php, and we are interested only in the name, only in the email. So I'll use this email value. I'll create check user.php. I'll pass email there. So let us copy this, quickly create check user.php. In the check user.php, we'll use the same register this logic. So I'll copy it here down here. Check user. So what we are passing email. Whatever value has been entered, we are passing. And if it exists, it already exists, typing the value. Okay, so this is check user.php is already done. Now let us try to register a user. Suppose okay, so I have entered, but this Ahmad@gmail.com is, let's see whether it is available. Ahmad@gmail.com is not available. So it should say that it is not available. Now we have to check the code. There is some error at line number 8. So then check user line number 8. Select log where you have only email to be checked. This is the condition. Okay, that is done. So let's come here. Call to member function fetches upon calling. There is some error at present. Can't call error call to member function. Necessary password from login where okay. There was error in the command. Let's refresh. You can see email already exists. Try again with the value. This is coming, but uh, this is coming when we are coming out of this function. You can see rajk@gmail.com. Suppose we enter rajk@gmail.com. So when we come out, it is saying that this is already existing. If I change, then it has removed. So this should come as soon as we have entered here. Here only it should say that this value is already existing. This is saying when we are coming out. So let us check the code. We have register form. In register form, register form on change. Input type email, name is email, ID is email. On change. Change event is not properly configured. Let's see on uh, on um, this event has to be properly named so that as we are typing, this function should get invoked. Let's see when this function is getting invoked. As we change, that should call. At present, it is when we are coming out, then that is getting executed. So what we want is a function that gets called every time we uh, make the change or let's see the events. These are the events on about on blur on change. This is what we are using, but this is not happening on drag, on leave, on focus, on input, on input, on input, on well, keep down, on keep press. We can keep on keep up. We have one. This is on keep up. So instead of on change, let's use on keep up. We'll come to the register user. Okay, register form, and here on let's on keep up. Now see, as soon as I'm typing, it is calling the function. So I'll remove the alert. Now see. Suppose what are the values in the database? This is radha@gmail.com. Okay, ananya@gmail.com. These are the values. Those values are available. Okay. So if we enter ananya@gmail.com, it will say that this is not allowed. Ananya. Suppose we have another user that Ananya app, but the pass email is same ananya@gmail.com. Anaya. Anaya at see, as soon as I've typed this, it is showing that email already exists. Try again with new values. And this should not come here. This should come just below this email or somewhere near the text box. So for that, you can use another div so that this is displayed at some other place. So now what we'll do, we want this message to come here. Input type email. So we can I'm supposed to so if the email is wrong, we want to print the message here. So now what we will do, um, let's refresh. See here, it's telling email already exists. Try again with new values. Uh, this message is very long. the file. See now, as soon as we are entering an email which is already existing, then it is automatically displaying that this email is not available. And in the register user, we can change it here also, so that what will happen. Let's see. Anaya Kumari is another user. You can see that we do not have Anaya Kumari in the list. But if our email is already taken, then also we cannot register the user. So this is giving the message. But if the user continues with it, then it will say record exists, enter new form. So this will not register. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to change it. As soon as we change, you can see that the error message is gone and then this registration successful message is coming. So what is the role of AJAX here? Why we have used AJAX? With the help of AJAX, we can add a lot of functionality which we cannot do without AJAX, because if we are not using AJAX, I'll come to the code of register.php. If you can see this register.php, we have used a submit button. So there can only be one function that can be called when this user is submitting, and that value will be written here. So there can be only one submit function in a form. And when this submit function is clicked, we can only write this code once. But you can see here in this register form, we can have a lot of functionality, and each functionality can have one function, and that function will be checking the values and performing accordingly, because we are separating the PHP code, the backend code from the front end code with the help of JavaScript. So this JavaScript is a bridge. This JavaScript is a bridge between register form.php and check user.php. So what this is doing, this is executing a PHP code, and this PHP code can be at multiple places at the backend. So this is the real advantage of AJAX, where we can perform a lot of functionality in every step. If you can see here, now suppose we want to do some checking on name, we want to do some checking on password, then every time we can do it with the help of AJAX, and this form will not get refreshed. When we use the PHP code, when we submit, if we use multiple submit, then each time the form will be refreshed. So in this way, in AJAX, the form is not getting refreshed and our work is getting done properly. This is the main advantage of AJAX. You can see in this form we have implemented, we have called the backend program twice, once to register and once to check the email. This is how we can take advantage of AJAX. So try to execute this program. I'll share on the code in the group, and you can get it on the dashboard as well. Thank you very much.